I think I am the last obstacle between lunch and all of you. I am aware of that, and I also have another session in the afternoon, so I am going to be terribly brief. To start with, I must mention I am extremely happy to see a large number of young faces in the audience. I find in the subject relating to development or revenue, you always get people who are extremely elderly, who are on the verge of getting out of service. I am glad to see younger people taking interest in this. Land revenue is not a fashionable subject. It is not glamorous. Most of us in the civil service, why most of us, all of us in the civil service start our career with the revenue department. But immediately after completing our tenures as district collectors, we leave the revenue department for good, and most of us do not wish to get back. I also belong to that category. I have been a district collector for 7 years, but I never went back to revenue department thereafter. My friend Mr. Agarwal has got better experience in revenue than me. Then what am I doing here in this conference? The subject is not land only. It is land and development. My career started as a block development officer in Hassan district of Karnataka. I ended up as Secretary Rural Development in Government of India. During this, though I had never been to land revenue, I have done some 20 years plus in rural development. So that explains why I am in this conference. See, land and development are related to each other. Without land, there can be no development. We need land for development. Similarly, without development, you can't have land. And if I give you the offer, whether you would like to go to Switzerland or to Somalia, all of you will prefer Switzerland. Why? Because the land and the people who live there, if they are prosperous, then we all would like to go there. Now, we need to ensure that the land contains people who are prosperous, and that can be done only through development. So that is the relationship between the two. I am glad that we are slowly coming to the idea of thinking that the land and development should be linked, and there should be discussions of putting both the things together. If both of them have to be strong, we need governance. So I am quite happy with the subject of land governance for accelerated and inclusive development. Now, how about gender, there was a discussion. In the discussions, we find that it is ultimately desirable to leave the landowner and the lessee to be together and let them decide what is good for themselves. There is also a reference made about having some kind of a supervisory mechanism or the oversight mechanism. And here, despite my long experience in government, I don't know whether state government should do this job of oversight mechanism. Under the constitution, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. Everyone says land is a subject which comes under the state list, the states have to do it. But do you know that there is something called the 7th schedule of the constitution, which was introduced under the constitution 73rd amendment, which says these are the subjects which the local government should perform. And the first subject in the list of 29 is land and land reforms. Now, I would therefore say we should seriously think of going below the state. State is not the agency which will deal with land. The better agency to deal with land, to provide oversight mechanism, is the local government. Whether it should be the Gram Panchayat as in the case of Kerala, or should it be the higher level of panchayats, we will leave it to the state governments to decide. But ultimately, the oversight mechanism has to be provided by the local government. That is my first point. The second point, there was a mention about having uniform laws for the country. I am totally opposed to having any uniform law for India. India is not a single country. What works in Kerala will not perhaps work in Madhya Pradesh or in Mizoram. We need to think of some commonalities. Your law should not be very huge. When we used to prepare the guidelines for the Rural Development Ministry in Government of India, Mr. Yugandhar used to always tell me that your guideline should not exceed 4 pages. don't write this thick a book so that nobody will read it. And the only chap who will read it is the auditor. And for him, the guidelines become the guidelines. He will strictly go by what is written there. And if you make a small change, he will raise an audit objection. So the best thing will be not to write so many things. Whether you have it lease or land revenue, please have the government of India to say very few basic things and let us leave it to the state governments. It is in their wisdom, let them do it. And definitely we should include the local governments in decision making. Now, I will make very quick points on the basis of what I heard in the morning in this session. There is also a mention about the community resource persons in the case of Orissa. It is very, very relevant. See, in the case of Madhya Pradesh, when we wanted to go and meet the Naxals in the Bastar region, I had been to a district called Narayanpur. I think my memory is right. In Narayanpur district, the district collector told me that he has control over only half the district. In the other half, he cannot enter. There is a problem. And he told me, if you really want to go there, I will not recommend, but if you want to go, the only method is go through the Ramakrishna Mission. The Ramakrishna Mission has an establishment in that district. I took the Swamiji, but without disclosing who I am, we went and we spent a day with the Naxals. The point is the community resource persons, they are at times much better than what the government supports you will get. So probably, whether it is successful or not, the community resource persons, not necessarily for the NGOs, but even for the government, we should be able to make the best use of them in case we want to reach the people. Now, I also heard about a number of things about modernizing the revenue department. Again, as the moderator very rightly said, the revenue department files are the huge files. If in the chief minister's office, if I get a file like this thick, I can say that it belongs to the revenue department because it starts from 1940s. When you read the file, you feel you are very old. And if you deal with the development or the education, you deal with young people. If you are dealing with the revenue department, you are dealing with old files. Now, I am very glad that you are now modernizing. Things are becoming more attractive. But the only grievance I have with the computers is that we generate too much of information. Do you really need 31 columns? I would like you to apply your mind. And secondly, as Vinod very rightly said, how many times we are making use of this? If you are not using a data, what is the point in having that data? Now, I would strongly recommend that, and after all these 31 columns, my friend Pranab says there is no column for gender. No, I don't know where we will end with this. Now, we have to find what are the columns and how we can reduce and how we will make use of it. I am quite happy with modernizing the department, but we should ensure that we have only that much columns which are relevant to us. Now, my last point. See, in all these discussions, we ultimately have to take the people into confidence. I am currently working with an NGO, and my philosophy is building people's institution for their own development. In land or in development, government only has got a very minimal role. Unless we make the people realize what is good for them, or we will leave it to them, let them realize themselves, it may take a longer time. My experience is involving the people takes a longer time, but that is durable, that is sustainable. So we need to wait, we should have the patience to wait and ensure that the systems work. I am happy about participating in this conference. Now, probably the moderator will decide what should be done next. Thank you very much.